the destruction of the Second Temple. Jesus predicted that the Great Temple in Jerusalem would be completely destroyed, saying that not one stone would be left upon another. At the time, this sounded impossible. The temple was the center of Jewish life and one of the most solid buildings of the ancient world. But less than 40 years later, the prophecy came true. In 70 AD, Roman forces under General Titus crushed a Jewish revolt and burned the city. The temple was looted, set on fire, and torn down until nothing remained. The destruction marked a turning point for Judaism, ending temple sacrifices and beginning an age centered on scripture and prayer. For Christians, it became one of the clearest examples of a prophecy fulfilled exactly as it was spoken. The fall of Babylon. The prophet Isaiah said Babylon would fall and become deserted. In 539 BC, the Persian king Cyrus captured the city by diverting the Euphrates River and entering through its dry channel. The Babylonian army was defeated without resistance, and the empire ended that night. The city's temples were looted, its population deported, and Babylon began to decline. Over time, it was abandoned and buried by desert sand. Archaeological excavations in Iraq revealed ruins that fit Isaiah's words, a once great city reduced to silence and dust. The Fall of Tyre. The prophet Ezekiel said the wealthy city of Tyre would be destroyed and scraped like a bare rock. At the time, Tyre was one of the strongest trading ports in the world, protected by massive walls and surrounded by the sea. Decades later, Babylon attacked but failed to capture it completely. 2 centuries after that, Alexander the Great returned and finished the prophecy. He ordered his army to build a causeway from the mainland to the island city, using the ruins of the old coastal town. When the causeway was finished, his forces crossed, stormed the walls, and destroyed Tyre in 332 BC. The city's surface was literally cleared to its stone base, just as Ezekiel had described. Today, parts of that ancient causeway still exist, and the old island is connected to the shore, forming a peninsula, a physical trace of how precisely the prophecy unfolded. The rise and fall of 4 empires. The book of Daniel describes a vision of 4 beasts, each representing a great empire that would rule the world in sequence. The first symbolized Babylon, the empire that dominated the Middle East in Daniel's time. The second represented Medo-Persia, which conquered Babylon and expanded west. The third stood for Greece, led by Alexander the Great, who defeated Persia and spread Greek culture across Asia. The fourth beast was Rome, powerful and ruthless, unlike the others. This order, Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, matches exactly the historical rise and fall of ancient empires that shaped human civilization. Written centuries before some of these kingdoms existed, the prophecy outlines the entire structure of classical history with surprising accuracy. The Rebirth of Israel. Prophets like Isaiah and Ezekiel wrote that the Jewish people would be scattered among nations and later return to their homeland. For centuries, this seemed impossible. The temple was destroyed, the land taken, and the Jewish population exiled across the world. Yet in the 20th century, the prophecy was fulfilled. After the Holocaust and centuries of diaspora, Jewish communities from Europe, Africa, and the Middle East began returning to Palestine. In 1948, the State of Israel was officially established, restoring a Jewish nation on the same land described in the scriptures. Millions saw this as the realization of ancient promises. I will bring you back to your own soil. The spread of Christianity to all nations. Jesus told his followers that his message would be preached to all nations. At that time, his movement was small, limited to a few disciples in a single region of the Roman Empire. Yet within 3 centuries, Christianity spread across Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia. After the fall of Rome, missionaries carried it to every continent through exploration and colonization. Today, Christianity is the most widespread religion on earth, with followers in nearly every country. The prediction that a message born in a small province would reach the entire world seemed impossible in its time, but became historical reality. The Byzantine victory over Persia. The Qur'an, in chapter 30, predicted that the Byzantine Empire would soon win again within a few years. When this verse was revealed, the Byzantines had lost their capital and most of their territory. Their recovery seemed impossible. Yet less than a decade later, Emperor Heraclius, led a counterattack that crushed the Persian army in 627 AD. The victory restored the empire's control over its lands exactly within the time frame stated in the Qur'an. The event was recorded by both Byzantine and Persian historians, confirming its accuracy. For Muslims, it became clear proof of a fulfilled prophecy announced during Muhammad's lifetime: the expansion of Islam beyond Arabia. Muhammad told his followers that they would one day conquer the lands of Persia and Rome, the two greatest empires of his time. When he said it, Arabia was divided into small tribes with no organized army or resources. Yet within a century of his death, Islam had expanded from the Arabian Peninsula across the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe and Asia. Muslim forces defeated both the Persian Empire and the Byzantine provinces, establishing one of the largest empires in history. The prediction that seemed impossible to his early followers became reality in a single generation. Historical records from multiple cultures confirm the scale and speed of this expansion, making it one of the most direct and measurable fulfillments of an Islamic prophecy. The preservation of the Qur'an. Muhammad declared that the Qur'an would be protected from corruption, preserved exactly as it was revealed. In the 7th century, most messages and writings changed over time as they were copied by hand, yet the Qur'an remained word for word the same in every generation. It was memorized by thousands of reciters and later written down under the first caliphs to ensure accuracy. Today, all Arabic Qur'ans around the world are identical in wording, with only minor differences in pronunciation traditions. Modern manuscript studies, including early copies from the 7th and 8th centuries, confirm the consistency of the text. For Muslims, this unbroken preservation fulfills the divine promise written in the book itself. Indeed, we sent down the reminder, and we will surely guard it. The beginning of the Kali Yuga. Hindu scriptures describe the Kali Yuga as the last of 4 great ages. Ancient texts predicted that in this age, truth would fade, rulers would serve their own interests, and people would value wealth over virtue. According to Hindu tradition, the Kali Yuga began more than 5,000 years ago after the death of Krishna. Many Hindus believe the world today reflects those signs: corruption in politics, wars across nations, environmental destruction, and the loss of spiritual values. The prophecy did not name exact events, but described the character of the era with striking accuracy. For believers, the alignment between scripture and modern reality shows that the predicted age of decline has already arrived and continues to unfold. The righteous king, Ashoka. Buddhist texts speak of a future ruler who would abandon violence and spread the Dharma. Centuries later, this prophecy was connected to Emperor Ashoka of India. After years of conquest, Ashoka witnessed the suffering caused by war and renounced aggression completely. He adopted Buddhism, promoted moral living, and sent monks to teach across Asia. His reign in the 3rd century BC turned Buddhism from a small Indian faith into a major world religion. Many followers saw his transformation as the exact fulfillment of the prophecy about a righteous king who would protect the teachings of the Buddha. Historical records, rock inscriptions, and monuments still confirm how he reshaped his empire according to Buddhist principles, matching the ancient prediction in both action and scale. The Conqueror from the West. Late Zoroastrian writings warned of a powerful invader who would come from the West, destroy temples, and bring great suffering to Persia. Centuries later, Alexander the Great did exactly that. In 330 BC, his armies crossed into Persia, defeated King Darius, and burned the royal palace at Persepolis, the center of Persian faith and culture. Zoroastrian priests described him as the accursed, the very figure their texts had foretold. The destruction of sacred fire temples and scriptures marked one of the darkest moments in Zoroastrian history, the Great Flood. Almost every ancient religion describes a great flood sent by divine will. The Bible tells of Noah. Mesopotamian texts speak of Utnapishtim in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Hindu writings mention Manu saving life in a giant boat. These stories share the same core. Humanity becomes corrupt, the gods send a flood, and one righteous person preserves life. For centuries, they were seen as myths, but modern geology has found evidence of massive floods at the end of the last ice age. Rising sea levels could have wiped out early civilizations and inspired the legends. The similarity of accounts from regions that never communicated suggests a shared memory of a real event. The moral collapse before renewal. Many religions share a prophecy that the world will face moral collapse before a time of renewal. In Christianity, the New Testament speaks of a generation filled with greed, violence, and loss of faith before divine restoration. In Islam, the Hadiths describe a period of corruption, wars, and hypocrisy before the appearance of the Mahdi. Hinduism's Kali Yuga carries the same idea, an age of decay followed by rebirth under a new divine order. Despite coming from different traditions, all point to the same pattern, a world falling into chaos before a moment of balance returns. Believers see today's global instability, political conflict, and cultural decline as signs that this shared prophecy is unfolding, echoing ancient warnings repeated across the world's faiths. Throughout history, people have looked for signs that connect faith with reality. Whether seen as divine truth or coincidence, these prophecies remind us how deeply religion and history continue to cross paths.